What's up, YouTube? We are back live with the Super Deformed Gamescast, episode 7. Tonight it's just me, Brandon, and Steve. Brian's internet is down, and no, I'm sorry, Gabe's internet is down, not Steve's internet. Steve is right here with me, unfortunately. But I
Don't
know they're
jinx it.
listening. I know they're listening. I know they wish they could be here with us, and quite frankly, I don't really miss them all that much.
Not yet.
But that's just me. So what's going on, guys?
Apparently a lot.
There is it's been an interesting week, to quote a paraphrase from Gaff, and I want to kind of start off with this news story I read on CNN today, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I'll just read you the headline. The headline on CNN was "Video games aren't just for antisocial nerds."
That's good news.
I know, I was relieved because I'm a fully functioning man with a family and a job, so this is huge for me.
If only I had someone to call.
It says here, if you think that the only people who play video games are a bunch of unemployed loners sitting in their parents' basements, think again. The gaming business is huge. Hollywood, blockbuster movie. Who the fuck wrote this? It's 2015.
I
This
don't
is
know.
some shit. This is some shit you read in 19. Are we really still at this point where video? I mean, this blows my fucking mind that this is an article that is an actual thing on a reputable news site. Well, I don't know how reputable CNN really is, but this is a fucking article that was written in 2015 about video games.
I feel like it's been written every year somewhere.
I don't know, man. Like the last time I wrote it, the last time I read an article about this was probably back in 1996. I haven't seen some shit like this in a long time. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't read the news often enough. Who knows? The only thing that comes close to this was a few months ago when they were talking about the guy who created Oculus Rift in Time magazine, and it was really unflattering. Oh my God, he actually can form fully coherent sentences, and he doesn't live with his parents. And I was like, God, what the fuck's happening here?
That
What's
was a
going on?
travesty.
Do you remember that dude?
Absolutely, I remember it.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, I'll tell you what though, the memes were absolutely fucking
They
beautiful.
were. I enjoyed the photoshops more than it was worth it for the photoshops. Yeah,
It really, really was. From
definitely.
from him from him being held up by that monkey from Lion King
Yeah, that was a great
to
one.
conducting.
I just liked all the ones of him like swimming through the ocean or whatever.
My favorite is the one like he's coming out of Kane's chest from Alien, and
I don't know if I saw that one, but I can
there
picture it in my head perfectly. Yeah.
there's that. There's one of him conducting a symphony. I mean, dude, this shit was fucking glorious.
I
That
mean,
was worth the
yeah,
price of entry.
he seemed to be cool with it all.
He did.
Palmer Luckey himself. Yeah.
Palmer, that's right. That's his name. But I
Yeah.
mean, I'm
Palmer,
reading the
Palmer
article.
Luckey.
That's right. I mean, I was reading the article, but it's just like this. I read that article, and I was like, "There's no fucking way in 2015 we're still playing out this tired ass trope. It's unfucking believable." I don't want to spend too much time on it, but
Was there a mention of a neckbeard in the story?
actually, you know what? I'm gonna check because I've got the article open right now.
Just Control F neckbeard.
Control F neckbeard. No, the rest of it is just some poor soul flabbergasted that video games are actually a more profitable medium than movies or television. And and kind of steer away from this a little bit, the NPDs were released today for September.
Like the most unsurprising top 10 you could probably guess.
Exactly. Well, the only thing that surprised me was the fact that Madden and NBA 2K charted above Metal Gear Solid 5.
I don't find that surprising.
Called
I,
it.
I thought it was a little surprising. But again, I mean, I agree with you. For the most part, it's completely unsurprising. What
I
gets
think
me?
people have always kind of overestimated how popular Metal Gear is. And
Well,
not that I don't want to downplay it a little bit,
oh
but like
sure.
this just kind of like goes with you know I don't know. Metal Gear's always been kind of like I mean, it's always been an exclusive franchise for the most part, so that's always
Well,
hurt the sales a little bit. But yeah, so I guess people expected this one to blow up with multi-plat, but
what kind of gets me is, obviously, two out of the three of us are on NeoGAF, and I know that Steve visits the boards. People are flipping out right now because I guess estimated combined sales of PS4 and Xbox One are just a little north of 550K. And of course, last year the combined sales was, I think, just a little over 850K, and people are saying, "Oh my God, consoles are dying, terrible September sales," not taking into account the fact that last September was Destiny month, with that sweet white bundle. And if anybody, in my opinion, if anybody really expected this year's September sales to match up with what happened last year, I got a fucking farm I'd like to sell somebody.
Well, the
Just
consoles are
It's,
newer, so the consoles were newer then. That's
Well, I mean, not only, but I mean, see, the thing is, last September you had a huge release pushing software, and that huge release happened to be bundled with a unique PlayStation 4. That, I mean, to be honest with you, if I didn't already have a PS4, I would have bought it because that white PS4 is sexy. Um,
I've never been one for gimmick consoles.
I,
Not since the '90s with the Game Boy.
Not, neither have I. Neither have I. But that white PS4 I thought was really
The
sweet.
the only
But,
colored gaming console I've ever owned was a green Game Boy.
mm,
I've only been eating Taco Bell for the last 2 months trying to get that gold PS4.
no wonder
That's
you
actually
gained so much weight.
that thing looks really good. Yeah.
I,
I
will-
was
I,
impressed by that.
I will say this: you want a sexy console, the 25th place or anniversary PlayStation PS4,
Yeah, of course.
pure
And
sex.
the controller on that one is
Yeah,
beautiful.
I've got the controller. I don't have the
Yeah.
console. I
Shit.
do.
I mean, that's all you need is the controller. That's
Yeah,
good.
no, dude, that's all I play with. I refuse to play
Yeah.
with any other controller.
I would be afraid to break it.
But people are flipping out over these sales, and this is why I might just swear off a sales gaff completely because
I have for my entire career of GAF.
well,
Yeah. I just peek in, look at the top 10, and close the tab.
there's too much doom and gloom. For every month that sales show a decrease year over year, these guys come out of the fucking woodwork and they say, "Oh, the consoles are doomed." I think consoles have been doomed 6 months of a year, 6 months out of the year, every year since 1993.
You know what? I'm glad that it's not PCs are dying anymore because that got old too, about a decade
It
ago.
it did, yeah. And next month when there's record sales for both PS4 and Xbox One, or let's just broaden it out and say this holiday, I look forward to when consoles are dying again next February.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Record
Anyway,
sales in Steam this
well, and
this
see
month?
here, but yeah, well, no. Here's the other thing that people are. I'm glad you mentioned that, Steve. Here's the other thing that people aren't taking into consideration. I guess this month, which was very interesting to me, saw PlayStation Store's highest sales ever. I guess sales on the PlayStation Network set the record, period, for single amount of sales in a month. I don't know how the breakup is. I don't know which games we're talking
Yeah.
about.
I don't really know. I don't really think there's much you can extrapolate from that. It's
But
just
see,
it is what it is.
well, here's what NPD needs
People
to.
are going more towards digital every month.
Well, and that is what and that kind of comes to my next point is I really think NPD needs to start tracking digital because it's only going to get worse from here for
Yeah,
physical
I
sales.
mean, yeah, NPD's viability as a useful metric has been in question for a damn long time.
I agree. I agree. At
Uh,
least
It only gets worse by the month.
at least concerning software sales.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I can
software.
tell you right now, the Uncharted collection is the first physical release I've picked up in a year, and I play a
I
shitload of games.
I like to get my big games on physical. It's just
Hmm.
I have a pretty meaty game collection. I've been buying my own games since the PS1 days, so I've always liked to maintain a pretty decent physical collection. And
I will buy. Well, I can understand that. I will buy a physical game if there's a really cool collector's edition. Like for example, I got the Fallout 4 Pip-Boy edition coming.
uh-huh.
Because it's got one of that fucking Pip-Boy. Um, I'm gonna wear it to work, by the way, Steve. But
Awesome.
yeah, I know, right? I'm looking forward to that. But for the most part, I mean, I don't like the clutter. I don't like a bunch of Blu-ray boxes sitting around. So,
Yeah, I get that. I have a shelf dedicated solely to video games.
well, I went all digital about a year ago, both for movies and games. I find that it simplifies my life. I'm the kind of guy who tends to be a pack rat. I'm trying to
I'll
stay
tell
away
you,
from that.
the thing that took up the most space when I was transitioning out of the military back to civilian life was packing up all my fucking game boxes. Those took up more space than all my uniforms and all that crap.
I have
Yeah,
four
no,
of them. I have 4 Gorilla boxes full of just video game shit in my closet here.
no, I completely agree. Every time we've moved a few times in the past several years, and we're finally in our house. But I used to have this massive Blu-ray collection, Just massive. I'm talking like 300 plus Blu-rays.
Yeah, I
And
got a couple hundred DVDs, but I never went hard on the Blu-ray.
I got so fucking tired of dragging that fucking goddamn 200-pound box of movies around
Yeah.
that I was like, you know what, I'm done. It's all fucking digital from here out, and
Yeah.
it's easier for me. And you know that's it. And I completely agree with you. I think the NPD, as far as software goes, is becoming a less and less reliable metric to judge software sales, and it is going to only get worse in 2016.
I mean, you like it's okay. You have to look at it for what it is and realize what it's leaving out, and not try to extrapolate like the entire industry out of just NPDs, which some people do.
Some people do, and you know, I think the other people, or the other mistake a lot of people make, and Brandon, I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me, is the fact that people conflate NPD with worldwide sales.
Yes,
People
they
think,
do.
okay,
Absolutely, they
yes.
do. Yeah.
And you know, it's okay. The U.S. is just one small part of a very large puzzle.
Yep. And again, the market for the rest of the world grows every year too. So.
Well, I mean, look at what's happened to Europe in the past couple of years.
Yeah, big
I
time.
mean, the market in Europe has fucking exploded. It's kind of insane, and you know that's offset by the decline of consoles in Japan.
Yeah.
But excuse me, but you know, I mean, but then again, I mean, China's on the rise, you know, and China is expected to be a huge market for consoles.
Yeah.
So I mean, all this.
I'm interested to see. I expect multiplayer games to take over in China.
I can see that.
Free to
I can
play
totally see
mobile
that.
games. Yeah, free to play multiplayer games. I mean, no, on consoles. Like, I don't think they're gonna dig the meaty single player experiences. I think they're gonna look for the more community based.
I agree. But it's just this fucking shit on GAF. And it's like you know most people. I mean, let's say let's say you got 550K sales combined between PS4 and Xbox One. That puts and if you say that PS3, because since we know they won the month, if you say that PS3 is in the low 300s and Xbox is in the mid 250s, that puts it in line with pretty much everybody's predictions for this September, including my own, and I don't see the big deal. It's a normal September. I don't know why people are flipping the fuck out over this.
You're saying PS4 or PS3?
PS4.
PS4.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, people just like to flip out.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of, I think a bunch of Xbox fanboys are coming out and saying they're going to boycott Battlefront because somebody said something bad about the Xbox.
Yeah, I know.
What,
Yeah.
like a Dyson play or something?
Okay, so here's what happened. So, and by the way, I know quite a few rational Xbox fans who thinks this whole thing is utterly fucking ridiculous.
I've never even heard of it. It's gotta
Okay,
be
so
ridiculous.
oh no, it is. Wait till you hear it. So, and this was not information that this guy volunteered. Somebody asked him a question, but a developer working for DICE on Twitter, somebody asked him about the Xbox, and one thing led to another, and somebody mentioned the Xbone, or I'm sorry, he called it the Xbone. He was like, yeah, we're working on the Xbone, blah 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 blah. And somebody said, oh, well, that's insulting. He said apparently, and somebody asked him about it. He said apparently Xbone, hurts the feelings of fanboys, and and then Twitter
Here's the
fucking
thing.
exploded.
I saw all the fallout from that, but I didn't see the original context. So yeah, I saw people complain. Like earlier this morning, I think it was. I saw people complaining about.
That's all it was,
Yeah.
and
But there's a little bit more. Somebody asked, like, hey, what's the issue with this Xbox-related issue? Are you going to be able to patch it? And he kind of brushed it off, and he said, well, it's just an inferior horse.
oh, that's
God! No. Why would he say that?
Yeah,
Why
that's
not?
what I saw on this is Twitter, so I'm trying to nail down the article.
Look for the quote, because I don't think he said inferior horse. I think he just made this. I think he just made the fact that DX12 doesn't equate to a stronger console. And wording is everything. I think what he said exactly was, look, the Xbox is a weaker console than the PS4, and that's something else that got people riled up. And I mean, he's not saying anything that isn't true.
It's so accepted at this point that he just shouldn't say anything at all. Like,
I agree.
Why ruffle the feathers on an accepted fact?
Not because I think that he's in the wrong for saying it, but because it's just you're going to stir up a shitstorm from angry fanboys. So why even bother mentioning it?
So it's Alan Kurtz.
Alan Kurtz, that's his name.
And
They're going to take the Ubisoft route. Oh, sorry.
So 10:40 a.m., 9 October. No amount of consumer trust can change that it's just an inferior horse in the horsepower category. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's not a good thing to say. There's just no reason to say that. He just should have shut the fuck up.
I don't know what people are angrier about, that or the X-Bone comment. Because most of the stuff I heard, people were pissed off at the X-Bone comment.
Oh God, man, that was so 2 years ago.
So this is his clarifying portion. As I meant to say, X-Bone will always be behind the PS4 this generation because it is powerful. Stupid typo.
Okay, I mean, I don't know. He probably. What gets me are the people calling for him to be fired.
I mean,
I don't even want to like even entertain those people. Like they're so fringe ridiculous that it's.
But well, here's the other thing. Not only are people calling for him to be fired, but I legit today heard a guy on a podcast compare him to Jared from Subway. And I was like, hold the fuck on. Please hold the fuck on.
Sure.
Are we really? No, his exact words, and I'm not going to say the guy's name because I don't want to give him any fucking
Please
publicity.
don't.
But what he said, what he said was, Peter Moore and EA need to treat this guy like Subway treated Jared. And I was like, hold the fuck on. Are you seriously conflating this guy with a man who was charged with child pornography? Because
so all we need to do is just not be that podcast. That is our goal, to not be that podcast.
And that is actually what when I heard him say that, I realized that in that instance, by not saying that, we have already become a far greater podcast.
I believe it.
I mean, you can't. And the thing is, and Gabe on Twitter, he said I got a call. He says link or it didn't happen, and I sent him the link. And he was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And I was like, no, dude, you can't make this shit up. That's how seriously people take this shit.
Yeah, console wars will be console wars. And I was there on the playground in the 90s fighting it out with the I am no stranger to the fabled console wars.
Dude, those were the console wars that mattered.
Those are the console wars they're making a movie about.
Oh my god! And dude, I gotta tell you, I sat on the fence. I had them both, and I loved them both.
I hadn't
even then,
but I was very much an SNES guy.
I think the Super Nintendo had more memorable games. The
Genesis was not novel for replicating the arcade experience at home. And the thing with arcade games is you beat it in an hour. Cool, good job.
Well, I mean, my brother had the
early days of the Genesis.
Yeah, my brother had the Genesis, and I had the Super Nintendo. And I mean, it was a little bit of banter back and forth, and it's kind of always been that way. Anybody who's got the other console, to me, is just like, I mean, we're both doing the same thing, so it's kind of like a brotherly feud. But some of these guys take it really seriously.
Yeah, they do. I feel like when we were all kids in the playground in the 90s, nobody took it seriously.
I actually took it.
Doing the console wars over Twitter now. It's a whole different thing.
Well, here's the thing. I took it more seriously back then than I do now. Because back then I was like, "What's that? You're talking shit about Final Fantasy VI?
Yeah.
I'll fight you right now."
I didn't have a Usenet account in the 90s, thankfully.
I didn't get my Twitter account till last year or so. But I mean, to sit there and I'm sitting there listening to this, and I'm a grown man. I've got a family. I've got a wife. I've got a kid. I've got a house, and I can't imagine living in a world where I don't get me wrong. I love video games, but I can't imagine living in a world or living a life where I took them that fucking seriously, where I got that amped up over it.
This is the same climate that Islam and Judaism started out in. Who's gonna win?
Good Lord. So now we're that podcast. Great. Killed it.
Well, I just want to point out.
Hey, we had 5 minutes. It was good.
I want to point out not only to any Sony or Xbox fanboys who may be listening, but also to any Muslims or Jews who may be listening. I don't condone Steve's statement.
We are all inclusive.
Okay. He is his own man. His views are his own. He does not represent the podcast.
I'm not saying anything out of line. I'm just saying in 1,000 years, strategic military operations will be conducted based on which console you pledge allegiance to.
Microsoft and Sony are going to be ordering drone strikes against each other.
No, it's of course very silly. It should be. Not speaking to the religious aspect of it, but to the consoles, it should be, hey, we're both in the same...
The only religion that I know in gaming is Haze.
Haze.
Gaming, for me, is a religion, and Haze is the shit.
Haze.
Okay.
I'm sorry, wait, I stole that quote from Jonathan Davis of Korn.
That's fine, but I just want to point out that Haze itself might be the worst first-person shooter I've ever played.
Really? It's mediocre.
Yeah. It's terrible.
You've played too many good first-person shooters then, because that game was like a solid 6. There are plenty of 3 or 4 out of 10 first-person shooters.
Well, to unite us all, this guy also said PC, of course, is the gold standard and the superior platform.
So now we can all drop our torches and pitchforks and unite against the real enemy.
I'm trying to think of the worst FPS I played last gen.
It's got to be Duke Nukem if you played it.
Oh, you're right. I did play Duke Nukem Forever. That would be it. Yeah.
In what other game can you go to the toilet, pick up a turd, and throw it at people?
Oh man, it's a metaphor for the game itself.
It really, really is. I don't understand why people thought that game was going to be good.
Nobody did. I know. I don't know.
I think people
I don't know what conversations you were reading. Everyone knew that game.
I think people were convinced. Oh my God, it's finally fucking coming. It's like it's either that or Aliens, Colonial Marines were the two worst.
Yeah. Well, no, Colonial Marines was another game that everyone knew was going to be shit. At least on NeoGAF, and that's.
I knew it was going to be shit after that. After I saw the screenshots that Gearbox put out after the trailer, I was like, wait a minute.
Aliens Colonial Marines had a great NeoGAF official thread.
It really did.
It was just one guy on the day the game was coming out being like, is anyone going to make an official thread? And that was the official thread.
Let me ask you this. Did Ride to Hell have an official thread?
I don't think so.
I hope. Oh, man,
I'm pretty sure it did not.
I'm going to go look for it after the podcast is over.
I'm going to look for it right now.
John, did you get anything off Steam yet for the new PC you got?
Wait, hold on. It does. NeoGAF.
It does? Yes! Yeah. I am looking that shit up as soon as we're done.
It only has 2 pages worth of posts.
Who cares? Yeah. I bet they're 2 beautiful fucking pages.
There's 67 posts in the entire thread.
I'm looking that shit up as soon as we're done. That is outstanding.
The title is Ride to Hell Retribution 1%. See you in hell, NeoGAF.
Nice.
It's actually an OT that had a little bit of effort into it.
That somebody actually started a fucking OT for this game. I'm looking that shit up as soon as we're done. So
the first post is all I'm saying is this game gave birth to arguably the best quick look of the year.
Well, it was certainly a quick look.
Giant Bomb's quick looks of terrible games are always entertaining for me.
So Steve, you were asking about PC games I've picked up on Steam. Now that I have a pretty good PC gaming rig. So I picked up a few actually. I picked up Divinity: Original Sin, which I played for a few hours the other day. That you know what? It's really, really good. I may pick up the console version and go with that just because I like playing those kind of games with a controller.
I totally understand. What about Pillars of Eternity?
I have not picked up Pillars of Eternity. I know about it. I've heard that if you were big into Baldur's Gate 1 or 2, that's a good buy.
See, well, the thing is about Divinity is that they nailed the combat so hard, but like all the story kind of stuff is the weakest part of it. Whereas Pillars of Eternity, the combat is whatever 90s style, but they really nail the atmosphere story stuff better than Divinity.
I was a little disappointed in Divinity's create a character editor.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really only one face you can pick, and you can throw a couple beards on them.
Yeah, you're barely even gonna be looking at them too. So.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, whatever. I've picked up, of course, Darkest Dungeon, which is my newest form of addiction. I can't fucking stop playing that game. What else? What else do I have?
Speaking of Darkest Dungeon, they announced the final release date for the full version now.
Yes.
It's what, January something?
January for PS4 and Vita, and once that thing comes to Vita, I'm done.
Yeah.
If I can take fucking Darkest Dungeon with me, my wife is probably gonna divorce me. Honey, we're supposed to be watching the movie, babe. I'm in the Warrens. You got to stop talking to me. Like It's over. It's over. So I picked up that. There's actually a really cool early access game that I've been playing called Darkwood. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but it's basically like a pixelated top-down Silent Hill.
Okay.
And it's really fucking cool. I'm really enjoying that one. I picked up Half-Life 2. I picked up Vanilla Half-Life 2 episodes 1 and 2, and I picked up a mod called the Cinematic.
Really need to play Half-Life 1 before you play 2.
Yeah, you're probably right.
You just have to, because you just need to see how the series changed. Like, I don't know, it evolved, but it also changed. Like, Half-Life 2 is a very different game than Half-Life 1 in many ways, more than just, like, adding some physics puzzles.
Well, I may have to do that.
They're very different in tone, very different in structure.
You're not the only person to tell me that, actually.
Yeah. They're different eras. Half-Life 1 is very much a 90s shooter. It's like the evolution of the 90s shooter. Whereas Half-Life 2 is more the evolution of the 2000s shooter.
Well, the other one I picked up is Doom 3, which is one of my favorite first-person shooters of all time. I absolutely love Doom 3.
I haven't played Doom 3. Doom 3 is a game I haven't played in 10 years, but I did like it. I was very much on the side that was like, the backlash is maybe a little bit undeserved on that.
I loved it. I thought it was great. But what I'm playing right now, and I kind of want to throw this out there, I'm playing right now on PS4. I'm playing Soma. And if you guys haven't played Soma, go out right now as soon as we're done and download it. It is probably the most incredibly atmospheric game I've played all year.
I've read too many things that pushed me away. I just can't.
I haven't seen anything on it.
Soma is basically what you would do if you took BioShock and turned it into hardcore horror.
It's from the guys who did Amnesia, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's fucking scary.
See, I didn't like Amnesia. I thought Amnesia might be like one of the most overrated games of the last 5 years. So it's just not for me.
I never played Amnesia. That's actually my next PC game, by the way, is Amnesia.
You should definitely play it. I won't color your impressions any. Just you should play it, form your own opinion. Yeah.
I definitely am going to pick up Amnesia because I love horror. Horror is one of my favorite genres. But I am really digging the shit out of Soma.
We could share play it.
Yeah, we know, dude. We can absolutely share play it.
Interesting news on the PC front, though. According to Steam's stats page, a record was set in October, on October 18th, actually. This says that the largest concurrent user record was broken.
I remember hearing something about this.
Nearly 11 million people were logged on at the same time in October.
That's insane.
Holy shit! What?
That's so crazy.
And that surpasses the 10 million mark that was set in June.
Wow. That's insane.
11 million people. What the? I mean, does it say what they were playing?
No.
You can go to the page and I'll tell you.
Not playing a game.
But yeah, they don't break down what people were playing.
There's people who just have the icon sitting in their taskbar. But yeah.
But I think some of the people that are playing, I think like one of the top 10, it's no surprise Dota 2 is up there, League of Legends.
No, League of Legends is not a Steam game.
That's right, it's on Steam. Counter-Strike's on there.
Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
Team Fortress 2 is still on there.
Yep, sure.
Oh, dude, that's going to be on there forever.
Skyrim still pulls in big player numbers.
You know, that's another game I want to pick up on PC just because I never got to experience the mods.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, Fallout 4 is coming out so soon that if you want to.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, dude. I mean, I'm not going to do it anytime soon because once Fallout 4 comes out, I'm not playing anything but Fallout 4.
Well, yeah, but then once Fallout 4, then you're just going to start getting into Fallout 4 mods. And so I feel like your time with Skyrim is behind you now.
Probably.
Your chance to get into it might be behind you.
Yeah, you're probably right. I did play the shit out of it on console, so that's a good point.
Yeah.
Did you see Overwatch in development? Blizzard's first all-new game in years.
I've heard about this actually.
That looks like they're trying to steal the Team Fortress crowd away.
Yeah, it really does. And it's a good business move. I mean, Team Fortress 2 is an incredibly successful game. I mean, there are a few games that have the kind of legs that Team Fortress 2 has.
Blizzard is a developer that I will always give the benefit of the doubt to, but I mean, only so far. This is still their first entry in the first-person shooter genre ever. So, I have a certain amount of cautiousness about it.
Yeah, I don't think it will be as successful. I think it's a little bit of a gamble on their part for a game that looks so similar to the current standard. I don't know how they don't feel it won't fall short. I mean, in a genre that they haven't really played around with. So it'll be tough.
I don't think I'm in a fair place to really criticize it because it's not, Team Fortress 2 style games are not my thing. I haven't really been into that kind of game since Team Fortress Classic even.
I want to know where the fuck Portal 3 is.
Yeah, that would be great. Portal 3 and yeah. No, I keep saying VR, but like Portal just wouldn't work in VR because it's too motion sickness inducing.
I don't know, man.
I thought we were joking when we mentioned it.
No, we really weren't. No, I want Portal 3. I want Portal 3. Fucking
in VR, I mean.
Although honestly, I think you're going to see Half-Life 3 a long time before you see Portal 3.
I don't know.
I really do.
They're both going to come out before Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
At this rate, dude, you may not be
Did you hear Tabata wants to make a
Zelda game?
Yeah.
A Zelda game.
You can't finish a fucking I can't finish Final Fantasy 15 anyway.
That was my first thought when I read that article. Is, dude, how about you just focus on Final Fantasy 15?
I mean, I don't want to say he's never finished a game because he pulled Final Fantasy 14 together and he got Type 0 at the door. But fuck, man.
What he did with A Realm Reborn is the one thing that gives me hope for 15.
I still play that. It's awesome.
Oh,
although
sure, dude.
The content has slowed down.
I mean, it'll never be the World of Warcraft killer that they probably hoped it would, but I mean, it's probably, I would guess, the second most played MMO behind World of Warcraft. At least that kind of style of MMO.
It has to be. Yeah, I can't think of anything that would be.
I don't think anybody plays the Old Republic anymore.
Or Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh my God, Elder Scrolls Online.
I don't know what the player base for Elder Scrolls is, but it's nothing crazy.
It's nothing huge. It's nothing to write home about.
That's a game people forget even exists.
I forgot it existed. I mean, my brother was, begging me to play it. Say, oh man, you got to get Elder Scrolls. You got to get Elder Scrolls. And I said, I played it before. It was called Skyrim.
Yeah.
I would think EVE Online probably beats out Final Fantasy. Although I never played EVE, but it seems like they have a huge user base.
No, you're the MMO guy. I don't know too much about that, But there's something else that I kind of wanted to bring up, and it says that Kojima officially left Konami on October 9th. He was out the door.
Yeah.
So he's a free agent now.
At least until his no-compete clause is up in December.
In December, yeah. He's got a no-compete clause until December, and at that point, you better believe that he's going to be getting offers from every major gaming company from here to Christmas.
What is his first game outside of Konami?
I really wanted it to be Silent Hills, but he doesn't know.
I don't even think it's going to be a big AAA budget production. I feel like his first game might be something more like Boktai.
Mobile.
Maybe like a mobile. Yeah, maybe something start small and try to work his way back into the groove of AAA.
Well, see, and somebody raised a good point on Twitter today, and I wanted to see what you guys thought. I immediately thought of you guys when this guy asked this. He says, does anybody here think that either Sony or Microsoft are going to snap up Kojima as quickly as they can and lock down exclusivity? Bring him in-house.
What's his handle?
Well,
might as well give him a shout out if you're looking at it.
Yeah, I can. Let me bring it up. But while I'm doing that, neither. I mean, I don't necessarily want that. I don't want him to be producing games exclusively for one console.
It's so hard to speculate on anything that Kojima could possibly do because he's been with the same company for 30 years. Like he doesn't even know what he's going to do. He doesn't even.
Well, I mean, this is probably jarring for him. I mean, the past 30
years.
Of
all he knows is Konami.
Metal Gear. He knows Metal Gear and Konami, and he helped out on Castlevania Lords of Shadow and Zone of the Enders. Metal Gear and Zone of the Enders. I mean, that's what he's done.
Yeah, Boktai and Police Nuts. About it. Yeah.
Well, he deserves to own a project that he wouldn't have to have somebody breathing down his neck about or
Snatcher.
pissing him off.
Nuts? I meant fucking Snatcher. Sorry.
Well, so yeah, he'll probably find it. I mean, he'll probably find a company to
well,
advise.
in my opinion, there's no probably about it. I guarantee you, as soon as his no compete clause is up, he can walk into whatever studio he wants. He will have a choice.
I don't think it'll be mobile.
He did both Snatcher and Police Nuts. I got him confused, and they're both Kojima games.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I mean,
after Konami, I don't think he would walk into a mobile game right away. I think that was part of the frustration of leaving, wasn't it?
I think you might be right, actually. I think you might be right. Hold on, you know what? I'm going to pull the article up now because now you got me curious. But I would not be surprised to see Sony, Microsoft, or even Nintendo make overtures to Kojima. I mean, he would be an absolutely invaluable.
Yeah, I mean,
asset
like, it's not like people are just gonna pick him up for Metal Gear talent. Like, he is multi-talented. He knows
He is.
he knows the video game industry in and out. He's one of the biggest veterans we have, and he could do anything really.
I would love, love, love to see him go to Capcom and find out what he can do with Resident Evil.
Anything like that. Yeah, just because he did Metal Gear over and over and over again for 30 years doesn't mean that he doesn't know how to do it.
Exactly. I mean, there is a wealth of potential in that man that remains untapped. And I would love to see what kind of creativity, what kind of change he could bring to another very well-established franchise like Resident Evil. I mean, he already had his fingers in Castlevania Lords of Shadow, and the game was much better for it.
I feel like his involvement in that game was so overstated. The developers were in Spain. Like, how often do you think Kojima was traveling back and forth between Japan and Spain to give actual
I'm not sure, but I know that he greatly influenced Gabriel's design. Before, Gabriel was like, a knight. He looked more like a barbarian. And I know Kojima stepped in and went, no, you know what? The character design for this is off. So I know that he influenced Gabriel's overall design. But I mean, imagine what he could do with Resident Evil or fucking, Mega Man, or Street Fighter, or the possibilities are fucking endless. He is a great game designer, and you're right, Brandon. He's capable of far more than just Metal Gear.
I hope they go the creative route with him. I hope they don't just stick him in project management and pushing projects to their logical end, although I'd want to see that in maybe a few titles. But I hope to see him back kind of testing his creativity and the limits of that.
What Kojima needs is somebody that can rein him in on all those crazy ideas and actually get like a finished product out.
I want to see where he goes. Let him do what he does best.
You know what? Let's consider this. What if he goes independent? Goes Kickstarter?
Oh God, no.
People have been abandoning those projects because Kickstarter doesn't do it.
I've noticed that.
It's Mighty Number 9 burned the Japanese nostalgia crowdfunding bridge.
I am no longer hyped up for Mighty Number 9. I can't be. Everything I've seen, all the delays, there's no excuse for it. It really, shit like that really makes me concerned about Shenmue 3.
It's gonna take Bloodlines to come back. Like, Bloodlines needs to come out and be good to get people's faith back in Japanese nostalgia crowdfunding.
I don't know. I really could see Kojima going independent. I really, really can. I would love to see him. For me, the real travesty is not seeing what he could have done with Silent Hill.
Of course.
That to me is the biggest loss because
that'll forever be like a stain on this era of video games.
That PT demo scared me like no other game has ever frightened me before.
That was scary.
That was scary.
I still have it on my hard drive. Yeah.
So do I. I refuse to. I don't delete it because you won't be able to get it back.
I didn't even know that it was on there. It took a couple months after the game got removed from PSN for me to even notice it was still installed on my hard drive. I was just like, oh, hey, look at that. How convenient. I never deleted it.
I have had multiple friends and my sister over, and I've handed them a controller and said, let's see how long you can last. Not every single one of them ended up screaming and throwing the controller down. I mean, there's just that. Who would have thought that walking around a hallway could be so fucking terrifying? And I remember thinking to myself, what, Guillermo del Toro and Kojima, this is chocolate and peanut butter.
Yeah.
This is fucking golden. And we keep getting it hammered home because Guillermo del Toro keeps coming out and saying, man, I really wish we could have made Silent Hills. He said it again today, and I'm like, dude, I get it.
If you play Amnesia in a post-PT world, it will be even less impactful than it was when it came out.
That's just
like I said, I thought that game was incredibly overrated, and that was like well before PT. Now that PT has raised the standards on like how scary walking through a lonely hallway can be, Amnesia has nothing.
Now I will say this: there is hope because of Allison Rhodes. Who here has heard of Allison Rhodes?
Yeah, they canceled the Kickstarter, right? Because they got like a legit.
Because they got an actual legit developer to get behind them and say, okay.
Publisher. That's awesome.
Or publisher. That's what I meant. Yeah, to say, okay.
I've seen the art. I've seen the associated art. It looks scary.
Well, dude, have you seen the gameplay demo?
I have not.
It looks fucking terrifying. And it really does have that creepy fucking I'm in a hallway PT vibe. and I absolutely can't wait. Again, horror is my favorite genre, man, or at least it's one of them. So I am absolutely beside myself with joy over the prospect of even playing something similar to PT for a 10 to 12 hour game.
So what's coming out in video games this week?
Shit. Well, on Friday we got Assassin's Creed Syndicate. You'll be able to have the tools to make your own fun once again, Brandon.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So no. Assassin's Creed is not a series that gives me the tools that I need. It's not. There are that hyperbole can be applied to a great deal of sandboxy games, but
it can be applied to this beer I'm drinking, man. This stout really gives me the tools to get drunk.
Yeah.
But no, so you got Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which comes on Friday, and I had fucking forgotten. There's very little hype over Assassin's Creed. Have you noticed that?
I have, but I feel like it's proportional to Unity and Black Flag.
I feel like I'm hearing far less about Syndicate than I am Unity or than I did about Unity or Black Flag.
Well, Unity had so much negative hyperbole surrounding its release with the parody thing. Ubisoft going out and saying that they were doing parody to avoid all the debates and stuff, which ended up just creating an insane amount of debate.
I don't think they're doing that with this one, are they?
I haven't seen much of anything.
I don't think the PS4 resolution has been confirmed. I've seen some people say it was 1080p at E3. We'll see. I don't know. I feel like it's probably still going to be 900p. But
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's not a big deal. Unity is a great looking game.
It's really not. Yeah, no.
It just runs like shit.
People wrung their hands over 900p for Unity, and I'm playing it. I'm like, I don't like, this game has flaws, many flaws. Being ugly ain't one of them, guys.
I'm very much I'm a resolution enthusiast. I'll take 1080p anytime. But it depends on the game, because I definitely felt like on Battlefield, where the 900p, where you're looking over these long vistas and you're expected to spot little tiny specks.
That's where the problem comes into play.
I felt like I was like, okay, the 900p is definitely doing a disservice to this game. But whereas Assassin's Creed, it's on a smaller scale. You're more intimate. You're not trying to pick out small specks in the distance to snipe them. So I didn't feel like the resolution was as big of an impact there as it is in some other games.
And it'll be interesting to see how that impacts Battlefront, because I know Battlefront is 900p on PS4 and 720p on Xbox.
That is fucking brutal, man. And in a game with the Battlefield, 720 though, and in a game with the Battlefield as expansive as that, where you have to pick out details far in the distance, like ugh.
Here's something else.
There's no bullet drop, and there's infinite ammo for the sniper rifle.
Well, here's something else I didn't know. Apparently, Halo 5 is 720p.
Is it really?
Yep.
Ouch.
They couldn't get 900p 60 FPS for that?
I am going to double check on that because I don't want to be labeled a fanboy who hates Xbox.
I haven't heard either way. I was just assuming 960.
Let me double check because again, I want full disclosure, but I do believe that Halo 5 is 720p. Let's find out, shall we?
I mean, even Call of Duty was able to get up to 960 FPS after Ghosts.
Yep, it sure is. Halo 5 Guardians is 720p, 60 frames a second.
I've seen footage of that game and it looks good, but I mean, you got to see it on your TV to really tell the resolution difference. So.
Yeah, we'll see. And it says it'll use a progressive resolution system to hit 60 frames per second.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Didn't Master Chief Collection do that?
I think it did. When it comes to a first-person shooter, I will take resolution over frame rate any day, as long as you don't dip below 30. Resolution is far more important in a first-person shooter. So I'm actually stunned.
It really depends on the game for me. It depends on the game.
I'm stunned that this is their flagship franchise. I'm stunned they didn't at least try to push for 900.
Frame rate is king for multiplayer shooters, which is why Titanfall not hitting its 60 FPS target was such a disaster.
I feel like that's a game I missed out on. Was Titanfall.
I played it on PC. It was a great time for the 3 weeks that there was a strong community for it.
I tried to download it on Steam, and apparently it's not on there.
No, it is an EA game. Welcome to the PC, where all your EA games are only available on Origin.
I did that for Battlefield too. I have an Origin account. I have no idea what my password is.
Is it worth it, Steve, to get an Origin account?
Yeah.
I guess it is if you want to play EA games.
You might. So I've had an Origin account for 3 years now, and the only games I have on are Battlefield 3, 4, and Titanfall. That's it.
You don't pay like a monthly subscription for EA.
No, it's like Steam. You put your email in.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you get good deals anyway? Like, is it less expensive than
No,
buying it? No.
no. Origin and Uplay, which is Ubisoft's proprietary PC network, is shitty about doing any kind of deal service. Like Steam Summer Sale, you're never gonna find that on Origin. I feel like they've made a push maybe in the last year or so, but like they just don't even want to compete with Steam on the sales department. Like EA has been very public about saying how they feel that deep discounts cheapen the IP and you know
That makes
all
sense.
that kind of stuff. So they're very much on the trying to maintain value of games and not try to give them away for pennies.
Oh, shit.
They also want to push their EA Vault thing or EA Access thing. So like if they start giving you the games for like $3-4, it totally disincentivizes their EA Access plan that they want you to get into.
I don't know. I think that's counterintuitive, especially when we're living in this DLC world where you want a multiplayer base for the people who are going to stay on, and you also want to be able to sell people DLC. So they should lower it more often, and they really don't enough.
Activision is the same way with Call of Duty, though. You're not going to get that shit for cheaper until the next year's game comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Call of Duty, too, is unforgiving for those newer players. Like Battlefield, you can wander around, I feel like. You can get in the helicopter and play with the squad, and you can still have a good time.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
on Call of Duty, it's just like immediately you're getting killed by a kill streak if you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
So there's something else I wanted to talk about, and I almost forgot about it. I got into the Dark Souls 3 beta
Nice.
this past weekend.
How much have you played now?
I have played about maybe 6 hours total.
Wait, hold on, wait. Before, no, you do that. We missed a couple games that are coming out this week, though.
Did we?
Yeah.
We'll come back up. We'll come back to
Two big ones. Yeah, you speak that first. We'll come back to the two games on this.
Okay. So Dark Souls 3, got into the beta, played about a combined total of 6 hours, and I've got a few thoughts.
Solid.
So it was a very, very vertical slice of the game. The beta itself didn't last very long. There's one boss, the Dancer of the Frigid Valley.
I've seen the video. Yeah, that boss looks sweet. It reminds me of what was the Amelia from
Amelia. A little bit of there's a little bit of Vicar Amelia there. She doesn't move as quickly as Amelia does.
Yeah.
But also, so I'll say this: one, the physics engine is vastly improved.
Wait, hold on. I forgot to. There's actually two bosses in the Dark Souls 3 beta.
I only ever saw the Dancer of the Frigid Valley.
Yeah, one's a secret.
Oh fuck! Man.
Yeah, you have to look up some YouTube videos when you're
done.
Oh,
son of a bitch! Now, damn man, I think I missed out. So the Dancer of the Frigid Valley, the way she's got the shimmering cape and the way it moves is just beautiful. I was mesmerized by it actually. Very difficult. She is hard. I beat her twice. She is very, very difficult. I probably died for an hour straight before I finally took her down.
What number boss do you think that is in the game? Even though it's a non-linear nature and you can tackle bosses in different orders, where do you think roughly that boss would fall in the final game?
So based on past betas, so if you look at the Bloodborne beta, you fought the Cleric Beast, and of course the Cleric Beast was the first boss in Bloodborne.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the Bloodborne beta went as far as Father Gascoigne.
No, it did not.
So you had the Cleric Beast, and then the Dark Souls 2 beta, you had two bosses actually. You had the Skeleton Lords, and it might have been the Chariot. I'm not sure, but there was two bosses in the Dark Souls 2 beta, and that was in the Huntsman's Copse, which is about maybe a quarter of the way in. So yeah. I would be willing to bet that the Dancer of the Frigid Valley, or more specifically, the area it was in, the high wall of something I can't remember the name, probably near the start of the game.
Yeah, second or third area, probably.
I got a definite. As for the high wall itself, I got a definite. It was like a combination of Anor Londo and the Undead Burg.
Yep, that's what I got out of it too.
When I say for Anor Londo, I mean the backdrop of the huge palaces. I mean it was just like being in Anor Londo. It was jarring.
There's definitely I feel like maybe not Anor Londo as much as like the Undead Burg against.
Well, the Undead Burg. When I say the Undead Burg, I mean when that dragon came down, it was like I was back playing Dark Souls.
But there's so much. I mean, like the art style is so clearly influenced by assets they had with Bloodborne that I feel like there's definitely a Yharnam influence in there a little bit.
Well, I can tell you this much. So there's 4 builds you could play. You could play like a knight. I think it was called the Wandering something. You could play a magic build, and you could play what was called the Academy Assassin. And the Academy Assassin could have walked right out of Bloodborne.
That sounds awesome. That class, just the name of it, anyway.
The Academy Assassin basically had a trench coat and a tricorn hat and a mask. And I was like, well, this is fucking Bloodborne. Very different play styles for each. The combat seems just a little bit faster, so there's definitely some Bloodborne influence in there. What was jarring for me was I kept wanting to rush in and hack away at an enemy and get my life back, but of course
exactly.
It's Dark Souls.
That's gonna be the biggest thing that's gonna get me going back to Dark Souls. It's not hacking away at dead corpses, like draining your weapon.
It's Dark Souls, so it doesn't work that way. And it took me a while to get used to that.
I got so used to just slashing at corpses.
I'll tell you what though. When you first enter an area, it does that old school, that noise, the same noise from Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2.
I love that noise. That's a great noise.
It just took me back. I just had a smile on my face. And it's big white letters across your screen. The high wall of whatever. And then I lit my first bonfire, and I felt right at home.
Yep, sounds good.
So invasion mechanics. Let's talk invasions. I get the sense that this is, this is going to be a much more PvP-focused game than Bloodborne was.
So in my entirety of Bloodborne, I got invaded in 2 areas, and they were very specific areas where the lady was ringing the bell.
And they were the Nightmare Mensis and
right before the final boss. Yeah.
Yep. Granted, I still play Bloodborne, and Bloodborne still has a very active PvP community in those 2 areas.
You have to look for it, yeah.
You have to look for it, but it is absolutely there. I can get invasions all day. I can still get invasions all day in Bloodborne. But Dark Souls is one of those games that you go for the PvE and you stay for the PvP. I literally played Dark Souls 1 for years. I played it for years, and I would just jump back in. I went through like New Game Plus 8. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
That's absurd.
New Game Plus 8. Yep. Same character, and what I've heard about the PvP in Dark Souls 3, and I don't know if this is true or not, so just take it with a grain of salt. But I have heard that you cannot invade somebody unless they are currently doing co-op. I don't know if that's true. I invaded somebody, and there just seemed to be one person. That's just a scuttlebutt I'm hearing. I don't know if that's just so. I don't know. I can tell you that soapstones are back. The cracked red eye orb is back. There were a ton of fucking people playing the beta. Tons of people. There was tons of ghosts running around. I saw white summon silence all over the place. I wanted to clear the dancer by myself before I summoned help because I'm just a masochist.
I played Bloodborne entirely solo.
The only time I ever summoned anybody in Bloodborne was and I got my platinum in Bloodborne, so I finished everything. And the only time I ever summoned help in Bloodborne was for the I can't pronounce her name, but the Daughter of the Cosmos boss, who's kind of a secret boss. She's the hardest boss in the game. Her, and I summoned help for Vicar Amelia New Game Plus.
In Dark Souls 1, I used co-op for Quelaag and Ornstein and Sma.
I consider one of my top 3 gaming achievements was soloing Ornstein and Smoke.
Yep, I definitely did not do that.
It took me weeks, but I did it, and I put the controller down.
I can't remember if I used an online co-op partner or an AI. I'm pretty sure I used an AI.
See, Steve never played Dark Souls, so he doesn't even understand Ornstein and Smoke.
No.
The best,
and
I actually only
the whole series. Yes. Only used co-op to keep myself from shutting the game off immediately. So that was the only time I've summoned someone.
Steve, do yourself a favor and look up the videos of Ornstein and Smoke. Probably the most.
It's a good fight. Yeah.
It's a great fight. It is so unbearably difficult that I know people who stop playing the game because
you have 2 enemies that have completely different styles of combat, and then depending on which one you beat first, the other one becomes way more powerful, and then you have to fight that one by himself. It's a pretty.
It's ridiculous, and it's like Brandon, like the music when you're fighting them.
They have a great. Man, all of the Souls games boss music is fucking as good as it gets.
Well, so that brings me back to Dark Souls 3. The menu music is stellar. I sat there for like 10 minutes just listening to the menu music.
Yeah.
And the music when you fight the dancer of the Frigid Valley, it's very, very. it's almost got a Middle Eastern flair to it.
I can't remember. I watched the YouTube video of the boss fight, but I can't remember the music very well.
It's almost got a Middle Eastern kind of flair to it, which is interesting, because she's writhing around. She's got a veil. She actually reminded me of like she's got a phase. She fights in phases. She's got a fire sword, and then when she gets done, about halfway, she pulls out a water sword. She gets about twice as fast. It gave me that old heart-pounding feeling I had when I fought like Ornstein and Smough, or like the Capra Demon for the first time, and it was great. I absolutely loved it. Things I didn't like, because no game is perfect. Obviously, the game is in beta, and it's got some more time in the oven until April. The frame rate needs work. I mean, this is Dark Souls we're talking about.
It's not going to get work. It's going to be like that in the final game, and you better get ready.
Well, but no, like there are parts of the beta where it was Blighttown bad. I know Steve doesn't know what that means, but basically, Steve, there's an area in Dark Souls called Blighttown that is infamous.
It means 15 to 20 FPS for sustained periods.
Yeah, it was rough. Blighttown was rough.
I played Dark Souls on PC, so Blighttown was a smooth 60 for me. But
having said that, the rest, and there was only one area, and I noticed it was the same area over and over. But the rest of the game ran at a pretty solid 30 frames per second. There were dips here and there, but then again, this is a Dark Souls game. I'm not expecting a buttery smooth frame rate.
And you're not going to get one.
I won't get one. I feel like there needs to be a little more weightiness, because Dark Souls is known for that. Those big, you blocks up with your shield. There's this big satisfying thump. And it was a little too floaty.
Okay, I get that.
But I think that's. I have faith in Miyazaki, and I think that'll probably get nailed down.
They still got like 5 months. 5
or 6 months, yeah.
5 or 6 months, yeah. They got plenty of time to do stuff.
So the enemies you fought, aside from the Dance of the Frigid Valley, were your standard, zombies and knights. There's even a big fat knight who kind of reminded me of Smough a little bit. It was pretty standard stuff. I didn't see anything that was, because Dark Souls is renowned for some of its ridiculously awesome enemy design. And
I love those guys, like those frog-looking. What are they called? I can't remember what they're called.
The basilisks. The
basilisks. They have those giant like bulbous things that look like eyes, but they're not actually.
But they're not really eyes. A lot of people don't really know that.
I love that design for that. That's like one of my favorite Dark Souls creatures. Yeah.
Those guys were great. Some other good Dark Souls creatures were the Quelaag was just an incredible.
Yeah, Quelaag was awesome.
Even though he was very easy to defeat, the Ceaseless Discharge was a really cool boss design.
Ceaseless Discharge.
Which to me it sounds so sexual.
It's a terrible name for a boss. Yeah.
What a horrible name for a fucking anything. Who came up with that? It's like we got this fiery demon coming out of a pit. What are we gonna call him? Well, you know what? After last night, I'm gonna call him the Ceaseless Discharge. It's like, oh Jesus! But so there was nothing. Aside from, and I want to really kind of get out the Dancer of the Frigid Valley. Her design was incredible. There was a serious Dark Souls 1 vibe to it. Everything else was just like knights and zombies. But again, that's also what gave you that Undead Burg vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I was just gonna say that was Undead Burg. Yeah.
Yeah. There was nothing outrageous there, but so all in all, my hype really went up for this one after playing the beta. I was very pleased with it. And speaking of hype, I know we want to get into what else is coming out this week, but I want to make one more very quick point. This past weekend, I got to play the E3 demo of Ratchet & Clank.
Okay.
On PS4. I walked into a GameStop.
When is that coming out? I haven't been following that at all.
April. And I actually walked into a GameStop, and it was just right there, and I was like, oh, shit, okay, I'll give it a
really?
shot. Yeah, no, I was like, okay, fuck it.
That's as random as it could possibly be.
That was as random as it gets, and I was like, okay. So it was the one right down the street from my house, so I went in there and I played it. It is like playing a fucking Pixar movie.
Yeah.
It is gorgeous. And that game, that 15 minutes I spent with the game, literally took it from 0 to at the top of my list.
It is 30 FPS, right?
It's 1080 it looked 30 frames per second to me.
I'm pretty sure Insomniac has went hard on 30 FPS, but better graphics in the last couple.
But no, dude, there's no way this thing is not 1080p. It is. Yeah. It's like playing. It's some of the best character animation I have ever seen.
It needs the IQ. It needs like high levels of anti-aliasing and a good resolution to pull off that nice animated quality look.
I'll tell you what.
Is it TT that develops that?
No, that's Insomniac.
Yeah, that's Insomniac. Insomniac does Ratchet and Clank, and of course,
they did fucking Resistance, and before that was Ratchet and Clank.
That's another franchise I'd love to see come back as Resistance. But no, Ratchet and Clank.
And of course, before that was Spyro the Dragon, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But guys, no, I just wanted to point out real quick, Ratchet and Clank for the PS4. Be excited. That game's going to be fucking great.
Good. Back in the PS2 days, I loved the second Ratchet and Clank game. I can't remember what it was called.
I was a huge Ratchet and Clank guy.
All those Ratchet and Clank games on the PS2 had puns.
Yeah, I loved it. Oh, dude, you're missing out.
Up Your Arsenal was one of them.
Up Your Arsenal was good.
What was the one though the second game had a pretty good one? Fuck it, I'll look it up.
The only one that disappointed me was All for One.
Yeah, fuck that one.
Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for in Ratchet and Clank. But anyway, I don't want to derail. What else is coming out this week, guys?
It was Ratchet and Clank Going Commando.
Oh yeah, right. I remember that.
That was an amazing game for its time.
It's a great name too.
Yeah, it is.
So, all right. So, Steve, you're talking about what else comes out this week. What else have we
got? Brandon was actually.
That up, so for this week, tomorrow we got Guitar Hero Live, of course.
Oh shit, son.
First thing I'm doing tomorrow is going down to Best Buy and picking that up, $100 bundle or whatever. So I'm going to be playing the shit out of that tomorrow. And also tomorrow is Tales from the Borderlands Episode 5.
Oh shit! Did that one snuck up?
Yeah, the final episode of the first season of Tales from the Borderlands, which is an amazing series. It stands right up there with the best that Telltale has done. Walking Dead Season 1 quality easily.
Really?
I actually consider Tales of the Borderlands to be far above Game of Thrones.
That's not even a question to me. I think Game of Thrones is garbage.
I think
Tales is awesome, so yeah.
The Telltale Game of Thrones games are some of the most disappointing games I've played this year.
Those are some pieces of shit. Everything they bore me to tears. Yeah, the only reason I got it is because I needed something to get me through the period between seasons of the TV show, and it didn't even.
Yeah, what a fucking disappointment! Like I made it through episode 2. I was like, nah, I'm good.
So I bought the season pass from the very beginning for both Borderlands and Game of Thrones, so I'm committed to seeing both of them through the end. I'm super excited for Tales from the Borderlands tomorrow, and I could not care less when Game of Thrones finally ends up. Probably in a week or two. I don't know.
I wanna make a point about season passes in a minute, but what else is coming out this week? Is that it?
Sword Coast Legends. That's a
PC game, isn't it?
That's a PC thing. Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons shit. Yeah.
Life is Strange Episode 5, another big one.
I never played it.
I played Episode 1, and I don't know if I want to go through the whole thing or not. I've kind of been waiting for all the. So Episode 1 I enjoyed a little bit, but not enough that I felt like I should buy the season pass. So I kind of. People speak so highly of Life is Strange that I feel like I have been missing out.
Yeah, I've actually had several people say, "You haven't played Life is Strange," and I'm like, "No, does that sound strange?" But I mean,
at least I played the first episode to see what it was all about, and I formed my opinion of whether I wanted to continue from there. But
if they're surprised, the game hasn't prepared them at all.
It's similar to a Telltale game, isn't it?
It is Telltale game, but better in production value. It's a Telltale game, but it's a Telltale game by someone who has very different values for production and stuff. You know, they Life is Strange values different things than a Telltale game as far as characterization and dialogue choices, all that kind of stuff. It's all very different, but it is very much a visual novel where you're just kind of going along a preset path and choosing choices.
Hey, speaking of Telltale and games that are coming out, what is Minecraft story mode?
Yeah, for the first episode for that, I think, was last week.
Was it last week?
Yeah, the reviews came out on it. It was, so reviews with Telltale games are so hard to take seriously because if you look at Game of Thrones, that has had some pretty damn good reviews.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And if you look at Tales from the Borderlands, that a couple of episodes have gotten some rather poor reviews. It's hard to find a consensus on Telltale games, but I feel like at least from what I've read in the community, there seems to be a vast difference in opinion between Game of Thrones and Borderlands.
This past week,
not represented by the mainstream reviews at all.
This past week was a really weird week for reviews. I saw a lot of hate about Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah, and that actually kind of brings me into my point about season passes is Battlefront. Have you guys seen how much the season pass for this game costs?
50, right?
$50.
I'm good with it.
It's Battlefront Premium, just like they do with Battlefield.
That is a hefty fucking price for a season pass. I mean, have they even detailed what the DLC is? Other than
No, but they don't detail what the season passes are for Battlefield either. So it's right in line with what they've been doing for the last couple of years.
And it's always disappointing.
It's always disappointing. Yeah, I bought Battlefield 4 Premium. Has to be one of my worst purchases in the last 10 years.
And I said never again, and I'm gonna do it again.
I'm not even buying Battlefront, so.
Really?
Nope. You have fun with that.
Is it because there's too much diversity in the multiplayer, or what?
It comes out a week before Fallout 4. I just don't need it.
I'm making a reference to the boycott Star Wars.
Oh, that's stupid fucking boycott.
I'm just joking. Yeah, I can't believe the hate this game is getting. The beta was torn apart in some reviews, and I just don't see that it was that bad of a beta.
I had a blast.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I had a fucking blast, and I fully plan on picking up Battlefront and then picking up Fallout the week after. And I'll juggle them both.
You say that now. We'll come back to that in a month.
No, but here's the thing, and then I'll stop playing both on the 24th when the Bloodborne DLC comes out.
Yeah, good point, because I will too.
It's the circle of life. So.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like I could actually probably put the Bloodborne DLC off until I'm done with Fallout 4.
Oh, that's fucking crazy.
I don't care how good the game is. I never prioritize DLC over new games.
For Bloodborne, I might make an exception.
Not even for that one. I'm always someone looking for new experiences. I play a lot of games, and I'm very much looking forward to going back to Bloodborne. But I'd rather play a new game.
Even over Tony Hawk? Are you done with Tony Hawk? You don't want to play Tony Hawk anymore?
Yeah, the 24 hours of Redbox was enough. I'm good.
Dude, you know that DLC's coming, man. That texture patch.
Are you actually serious?
I have no idea.
Okay,
it needs a lot of patches, so
it's probably I'm very interested to see what happens to Robomoto here. Like, I feel like we could be hearing about them closing down any freaking day now. As you know, as sad as it is for people.
It is sad.
It's what happens. So
I think they got fucking hung out to dry. I guarantee you, the only reason that Tony Hawk was made that quickly was to keep the fucking license.
That quickly? They had so much time to make that game good. Tony Hawk.
But here's the thing. I don't think they did shit with it until this year. I think it was in development hell until they finally said, you know what, fuck it. The license is going to run out, which it would have. We need to get a product out now. Just kick it out the fucking door, and we'll make Tony Hawk 6 so much better. That's honest to God what I think happened.
What are you saying about Tony Hawk 6? There's not going to be any such thing.
Yeah, I think it has with 5.
No, I agree. No, I think that was the prevailing wisdom at the time.
No, Activision knew that the contract was expiring in 2015. That's the whole reason this game exists.
No, I agree that it exists, but what I'm saying is I think Activision is dumb enough to believe that people will eat it up and there will be a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 6.
I don't. I feel like the way that they treated the game in its entire lead up to release proves that Activision never gave a shit about it, never expected anything out of it, and was merely just waiting out the end of their dumbass contract that they signed fucking 13 years ago.
I mean, why even make the game then, though?
Because it was a contract that they signed 13 years ago, back when Tony Hawk was the #1 franchise in video games.
I am really curious to see next month's NPD and how this game sells.
What? That's not going to be anywhere near NPD.
I just want to see it. I just want to see if it charts, man. I'm holding.
No, it's not going to chart. What?
Can you imagine the fucking Fallout if it did?
It wouldn't even. I don't even think it'll be top 30. If such a thing. If they
You're gonna get hate mail from Brandon over this segment.
I'm calling it now, man. Tony Hawk 5 is gonna be number 3 in the NPD in October.
Maybe number 3. Number 3 for the Redbox stats.
Number 3. You heard it's gonna be right behind Halo and Uncharted Nathan Drake collection.
I don't think Uncharted Nathan Drake collection is gonna sell NPD style.
Really?
Yeah, bottom 5.
I think it'll be. All right, so let's talk about October's NPD for a minute. If you look at the monthly, if you'd asked me 6 months ago, does Xbox have a lock for October? I would have said yes, absolutely. Now I'm not so sure. If you look at Amazon, and I know Amazon is reliable at times and less so at others, but if you look at their October tracking for the month, and I'm not talking the hourly stuff, I'm talking for the month, you have 2 PS4 SKUs, one at 20 and one at 24, and then you have the Halo 5 bundle at 32. And then there's another PS4 SKU in the top 30 or in the top 40 below that. So you've got 3 PS4 SKUs and 1 Xbox SKU, and I'm really starting to wonder, is PS4 going to actually eke out a win during Halo month?
Yeah.
Or will we see all those sales translate into November, and then we'll see Xbox pick up November?
I think Xbox will get October, but I don't really care about this discussion because I don't care which one sells more month to month. Like,
no. I could care less either. I'm just talking about it strictly for the surprise factor.
Hey, you know what comes out the same day as Fallout 4? Supposedly, maybe, perhaps the 360 and PS3 versions of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5.
What? They're actually going to come out? What?
Right? So here's the like, they haven't said shit about them other than that they were originally like. Quiet cancellation is the most obvious thing, but
I didn't realize there were last-gen versions.
If Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 does actually come out on the last-gen consoles, it could be the worst cross-gen game. Like, worse than Shadow of Mordor or any of that.
I don't know if you get worse than Shadow of Mordor, man.
There's probably a PS2 version of that
Tony
game.
Hawk's Pro Skater 5 on PS4 is already almost worse than the PS3 version of Shadow of Mordor. So...
Well, I feel like I need to pick this up on Redbox to experience.
You do. You need to see what 15 frames per second feels like.
I'm gonna create a dummy PS4 account because I don't want a single one of those trophies staining my account.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 has the worst Tony Hawk level ever designed by human beings. It's this fucking rooftop level where it's made specifically just to ruin any little piece of combo that you could think you could pull off. It's like sabotage the Tony Hawk level.
I'll tell you what, I just had a lot of fun watching the videos and the GIFs.
Yeah,
that was the best part.
I can't stop. I watch so many of those videos because it's just so bad you can't take your eyes away.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 is impressively a game that gets worse the more you play it. Because like the first level is easily the best level in the entire game because it's the most basic.
Do you have it?
No, I rented it from Redbox for one day.
You were actually.
And I actually got to the last level. I played it for maybe 5 or 6 hours and got to the final level.
So you were actually impressed at how bad it was.
Yeah, it kept getting worse because they kept trying to. The levels kept getting more complex every time you like, as is Tony Hawk. You know, the first level is the warehouse, and then the last level gets way more complicated. But in this one, every time they get it more complicated, it just ruins your ability to pull off any sort of combo. And so, like, it's easier to get high scores in the first level than it is in like the last level. That's not the way it should be.
You know, those devs at some 0 hour were like, you know what? We know we've got a fucking turret on our hands. We don't give a shit anymore. Let's just make it as bad as we fucking can. And
what was the resolution?
The developers tried so hard to push that thing at E3 to try to get out there and like push this game as if it was something that they were proud of.
I remember seeing that first video, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening to Tony Hawk?"
Yeah, like even well before the disastrous art style change back when.
Oh god, the cell shading.
Yeah, like, which doesn't go over well at all, but.
That was one of my favorite gaff threads ever.
It was changing shit to shit, like they just changed the color of the shit.
That was even worse than changing Regis's father for no fucking reason in Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
For no fucking reason.
Well, no, because Final Fantasy 15 might actually be a game someone cares about. So any changes to that are more impactful to a game than Tony Hawk, which nobody gives a fuck about.
That is quickly becoming not the case for me. It's a game. I just want the fucking game to come out.
I understand, and so you better just stop thinking about it because it's not close, and thinking about it's not going to make it come out anytime sooner.
Hey, while we're kind of. I guess we're gonna be wrapping up here in just a minute, but
yeah, we are blowing past our time here.
We do.
We are, but we do. But I enjoy doing this with you guys. But I also want to give a shout out to our boy ZHugeEX. Z-Huge. He's got his own website, his own blog where he talks about industry analysis and sales and things like that. He's a big brain on this kind of stuff. So if you guys are interested in seeing some really good industry analysis from a guy who knows what the fuck he's talking about, go to zhugeex.com. That's zhugeex.com. He's got a great site. He's a good guy. I highly recommend everybody goes to check him out. And he will actually be on the show on the 24th of this month. So our next show, we're going to be having Z Huge himself. He's going to be talking about what's happened over the past year in terms of sales and where the generation's at, and what he thinks we can expect going forward over the next fiscal year.
Plus, he puts it on Twitter. It makes it easy. If you
he does.
Instead.
He does. You can also follow him on Twitter at ZHugeEX, ZHUGEEX, or at, put the at before that, obviously. But I'm really looking forward to having him on the show. It's going to be a lot of good conversation with him. I also want to say real quick that our website should be going up by the end of the week. I've been crunching on it hard over the past 5 days.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm using Square. It's called SquareShare. Not
Okay.
SquareShare.
Squarespace.
Squarespace. That's right. Shit.
Everyone knows Squarespace.
Yeah, and it's come together really well. I threw some pictures up on Twitter of the initial design. And for anybody curious, not only will we have links to all of our podcasts up there, we will also be doing game reviews, and a game blog as well. So look forward to that. Again, that should be up by the end of the week. And we've also got a very big guest coming up in the future. I don't want to say who it is just yet.
I hope that all works out, because that would be amazing.
It looks like it will. It looks like it will. So really excited about that. That's going to be pretty big. I'm actually kind of still stunned that that's even remotely a possibility, but it is looking like it's going to happen. So yeah, we will reveal more about that as the days to come. So be on the lookout in November. We got a really big guest coming on. And with that, unless anybody's got anything else, I think I'm done for the night.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, well, hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This has been episode 7 of the Super Deformed Gamescast, where it's not always poetry and we don't always agree, but we always keep it real. And we will be back with ZHugeEX on Saturday, October 24th. And until then, peace out, you guys.